So guys, I want to go ahead and introduce Vince Alvarado, LA City captain. He's been willing to come out and talk to different departments. We had a tape from Laverne and they had him out there at their fire ground survival training. So I want to thank him for coming out and give him your undivided attention. This presentation is great. It's regarding the SUMAC fire, and enjoy. I think it really hits home when he starts talking about what went on and how it can easily happen in our town. So enjoy the presentation.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming out.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Good morning, everybody. I think I've Good morning. I think I've probably met everyone here, and if not, Vince Alvarado. I'm got 14 years on the job with LA City. Prior to that, I was reserved for Orange County Fire. So probably in the fire service about 15, 16 years. I'm here today because a lot of different reasons. This happened almost 3 years ago. This May in 16 will be 3 years. And I really shouldn't be here right now. I mean, I shouldn't be alive, to be honest. And when I go through it and you look at the data that I show and the information I give you, I'm hoping that you can take that and use it in your mental bank, you know, to file away, store away, to use it as motivation to train and something to reference if you're ever in a situation like this. Hopefully you can prevent that situation, but if you are in a situation like this, you have something to refer to, hopefully give that information you need to save lives. I currently assigned at Fire Station 35. Just got there in August, and just bear with me too, sometimes I can't even predict how I'm gonna explain the whole report. I look at this as basically a live NOSH report, because rather than reading a bulletin or a paper, I'm actually going to give you the information. You can ask me questions at the end. We'll talk about it. But going back to, so when I speak about it, a lot of times the feelings fester up, so just bear with me, because I don't even know how I'm going to act. Sometimes it just comes out and I get in the zone. So I have this as an adjunct to keep me on track, to make sure I don't miss key points I want to share. So currently I'm at 35s. Been there since August. Prior to that, I was 2 years in special duty. When you make captain, I made it in 08. You got to do 2 years of your career back to the fire department. I was at in-service training where I taught driver training, pumping, emergency vehicle operations, driver operator, and did the DMV licensing. Prior to that, I was at 57s as a captain for 5 years. And 57s is in South LA. Fortunate, a lot of good incidents. I was fortunate to go to a lot of incidents. Single family dwellings, commercial was primarily the district, so I was fortunate to go to a lot of fires. I mean, a lot of fires that got me comfortable to where when I saw a single family dwelling, I was complacent. I thought I was invincible. Prior to 57s, I was an engineer in the west side at 58s, which is the border of LA City and Beverly Hills. A lot of different challenges. A lot of high rise, a lot of single family.
Response, chest pain.
Engine 106, Grad 101 for chest pain, 655 West Miami, 655 West Miami Avenue, Miami Gardens, Unit 225. Local involvement, right one.
So 58s, and then prior to that I was in Battalion 11, where I was basically raised as a firefighter. They had everything there from Center Hall to high rise, Metro Rail, single family dwelling, commercial. Good solid base to where that also led and fed me to be very comfortable prior to this incident on single family dwellings. So I mentioned all this stuff to give you a little background, and I felt like I went to enough incidents to where any single family dwelling incident that we got dispatched on, as far as structure fire, I felt confident. Never been hurt in a fire, never had a near miss, felt invincible. I talked to, I think, Cap or someone earlier about being invincible. When you don't have an incident that's significant for that many years in the job, you never think you're never going to get hurt, and this is where I got bit. But the one thing I'm very passionate about is the fire ground survival training, the ones you guys are doing starting today. We're starting our fire ground survival delivery to the whole department starting in January. I know I was with Laverne a few months ago when they went through the whole department, and since that date till today, I haven't really given this presentation, so bear with me with the technical things of this. I'm gonna have to have him help me put the videos on. It's not really working that great, but we'll use that as an adjunct to what I'm talking about. So anyways, anyone familiar with this incident, the SUMAC fire? All right, just to let you guys know, get you in that mode of what occurred. Here's a news clipping that actually a couple of my friends who didn't hear about it through my own interconnection, heard it through the news, actually saw this particular news footage. So we'll start off with this and I'll get into the incident.
And we do have another fire to tell you about. Nearly 100 firefighters were busy overnight battling a house fire in Sherman Oaks. It was on a small winding road off Beverly Glen Boulevard. KCAL 9's Art Barron has the latest.
2 LA City firefighters treated at the scene, then taken to the hospital. They became trapped while fighting this Sherman Oaks house fire.
We have one captain who suffered burns, and he is in serious condition at a local hospital, and then also another firefighter that is in fair condition at a local hospital who also suffered burns.
The 3-story house along the 4000 block of SUMAC Drive became an inferno as firefighters quickly worked to knock it down.
They had to come up some very narrow, windy roads to make their way up here. These are very large residences. When they got on scene, they found a 3-story single-family dwelling with heavy fire involved. So they immediately called for additional resources. They made a very aggressive attack.
The greater alarm fire was called in shortly after midnight. As many as 100 firefighters responded. A next-door neighbor went to see what was going on after he thought someone was having a barbecue.
I kept smelling it and it started getting worse. I pounded on the door. No one was home. I went down to my deck and I could see smoke coming out of the house.
At one point, conditions deteriorated and firefighters were ordered out of the structure.
Right now, the cause of this fire is under active investigation by the Los Angeles Fire Department.
That was Art Barron reporting.
All right, so once again, to reiterate, I'm very grateful to be alive and actually share this story. And that's why I'm here today. It's to give you that information, that piece of our history, the LAFD history, my own personal history, so you can learn from it. So hopefully later in the future, you'll never have to repeat what we did, what I did. So through all this, and I'll revisit it later, what saved me was actually, it was training, but it wasn't my training. My training fell short of what the incident required for me to get out. It was the training of the other 2 members that were in that room with me that actually got me out. And I think that speaks to the importance of not just learning this stuff for yourself, but having your members around you learn this stuff, because they could be potentially the ones to save you. So next. All right, so I made this PowerPoint a few years ago. I haven't updated it, but I use this to speak of how dangerous our job is. I know it's kind of a statement we all know, but sometimes we forget. But I know these include not just at fires, but also medical conditions. But our job is dangerous. I mean, these stats here about how many we lose as a fire service every year, I mean, it's a lot compared to any other job. So the things that you can do to control yourself from being one of those statistics, you need to control, whether it be training like you're doing today, eating better, working out, all those kind of things. If this doesn't remind you that you could die, hopefully today, from here on out in your career, you take it a point to manage and control everything you can control. You can't control an earthquake or terrorist attack, but what you can control is your training, your health and fitness, and hopefully this will give you information to help you with your training to prevent a line of duty death. Thanks. When I was a firefighter in Battalion 11, all I wanted to do was become an engineer. My bull engineer, who had like over 25 years in the job, he'd been in every major incident from the riots to First Interstate. Anything in this LAC that happened the last 25, 30 years, he had been there. So I really took him as my father in the fire department. He used to always tell me this quote, you know, those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And I never really understood personally what that meant. I just thought of it as a quote that my mentor always taught me. And the reason why I'm here also is to give you a little bit of history about this fire I went to, so you can learn from it, so it won't happen again. Had I taken his advice, and I knew about the San Francisco fire that happened in 2011, same thing. It was a subterranean fire, killed 2 people. The Maryland fire in 2012, it's all on firefighterclosecalls.com. Same thing, like the SUMAC fire from below that almost killed 5. And then the SUMAC in 2013, so it happened every year it happened for 3 years in a row. Well, if I had this information and studied it and really took the heed to it, this probably wouldn't have happened. You know, if I took the information my mentor gave me and studied history, this probably wouldn't have happened. So I'm giving you the information so this won't happen to ever you guys. You know, I noticed there's an OES rig, so you might get out of this district, get into hillside home areas. If you think you're not going to get into them here, you have a potential chance to get out there. So there's a chance you might go to one of these things. Maybe you might go to them in the next few months because of the weather. Hopefully take these lessons. I'm not going to get into the San Francisco or Maryland, but again, the SUMAC, it's almost the same thing. And we'll get into the tactic and SOG on how ours occurred and how it's similar to that. The one thing I want to speak about before I get into the day, and I think the best way for me to explain what happened is actually walk you through my day, is reemphasize that although the training you're going to get today is, I feel, the most I'm passionate about, the most important I think the fire service has to deliver, probably the most important training your department has to give. I think equally important in regards to preparing yourself when you're in a Mayday is preparing yourself to prevent the Mayday. And when I talk about prevent the Mayday, you want to train and not forget about the basics, you know, throwing your breather, laying a line, being safe, communications. And the one thing that I learned through this incident and studying SIT reports or NASH reports, which are reports about line of duty deaths, near misses, is that there's always the 3 C's intertangled in all line of duty deaths and near misses. 3 C's, I mean, it's the lack of communication, crew continuity, and complacency. Those 3 C's are already mixed in all line of duty death reports, all near misses. And me personally, I violate all 3. In my near miss, I violate all 3, and I'm gonna go through them so you can hopefully not do the same as well. The biggest one that I think that I violated was complacency. Going back to being 14 years in the job, at the time I had 12 years. Never been hurt at a fire. I've been hurt with sprained ankles, but never been burned, never been in a lost or disoriented thing. I was very, I felt bulletproof on incidents. Being a captain of 5 years and never had a guy underneath me get hurt and going to a lot of incidents, getting lucky or whatever you want to call it, prepared but not getting hurt. It provided me a sense of invincibility that actually, what I feel is, it got me complacent and really realizing how dangerous this job is. So this incident, in regards to complacency, it occurred on, the shift was a Friday. So that was May 3rd. The midnight of Friday is May 4th, and this incident happened, the first call on that midnight, so it was really May 4th. But the reason I bring that up is on Thursday, the day before this incident, I get a call from my buddy, he's a Captain 2 at in-service training. And he gives me the call on Thursday and says, all right, Vince, you've been selected. You're gonna go to special duty. You're gonna be the driving coordinator. You start Monday, getting detailed, so pack your bags, you're gone. I'm not sure how you guys feel when you're at the end of a 48 or about to go on a vacation. It's that kind of like, oh, I can think about what I'm gonna be doing the next 4 days or whatever you have. It's like, we call it a getaway day feeling where you can't wait to get off work. Well, when I got that call on Thursday, I kind of just was like in vacation mode. I kind of like let my guard down. I'm not gonna be in the field anymore. I'm going to special duty, 4-10 work schedule, and my mental thing of getting ready for a shift like I normally do now, it was just like I'm on vacation. So I think that's when the complacency started. When I got that phone call, I was actually at a car wash in Fullerton when my son at the time was 1 year old. And all right, I'm done. So the one thing that was lingering was I had an overtime day the next day on Friday, May 3rd. And I decided to keep it. I always use the money. And I already had Sunday off. I was gonna run the marathon in OC. So I already had Sunday off. So literally I just had one more shift in the field. That was the next day and it was overtime day. So normally my preparation mentally, what I would normally have for a shift, you know, all the things I normally do, I didn't have. I was like on vacation. I showed up to 33s on May 3rd on my overtime day, all my stuff, and that was my crew. And if you look at it, and I put this up there because I'm from 57B, the engineer's from 33C, Schmatt is from 66A, and Patton's from 33B. We talk about watchouts and wildland. This is a watchout in any kind of terrain. You got the whole crew continuity is as diverse as you can imagine. Different shifts, different stations, all on one rig. So when it comes to crew continuity, As a captain, what I should have done, I should have actually brought everyone, like I normally do at 57s, go over some basic SOGs so everyone's on the same page, so we can operate safely no matter what the incident is. It never happened. What happened was I was complacent. I worked with all these guys when we had the brownouts, when we shut down companies, no more overtime. A lot of guys would get detailed to different spots to cover the vacancies. I was at 57s. These guys had all come to my station to work. So I'd been in significant incidents with each of these guys, but never collectively as a whole. So we never actually worked as a team as a whole, just individual. So I made a false assumption that if anything happened that day, it would be good because you guys are all good. I've been to fires with all those guys. In fact, Lincoln was my classmate in the drill tower. We've been to a few good things together, and I never thought anything would ever happen to us, you know? And I made that false assumption. That's how that day started. So as I put my stuff on the rig, I always check my breather like I normally do. I go to the front office. At this station at 33s, it's a task force. So we have another captain on the truck, and I'm on the engine. And he tells me that, hey, Vince, because of the fire going on in Ventura County, or SEMI, you guys are getting pre-deployed, meaning our engine 33 is going to move to another fire station 99s to be a supplemental engine in case something breaks out. It's like beefing up our armor out there in the part of the valley. So for us, when we get a move up like that, going from this battalion, we're running 25 to 30 calls, and going to 99s, we're running nothing. It's another vacation. Not only am I going to special duty, it's an overtime day, making good money. Now I'm going to 99s. I mean, the place to really set in because now it's like a vacation for us. Put all our brush stuff on, you know, our sleeping bag, 24-hour deployment, and we take off to 99s, which is about almost a 45-minute drive. What should have happened was as we put the brush stuff off, which takes a little bit of process, take our high-rise stuff off, put the brush stuff off, normally 10 to 15 minutes, get our bags on. Normally my SOG is go over with the guys some brush stuff, just re-engage the brain. Our progressive hose leg, you know, just go over some basic 290 stuff, just to get guys thinking about brush, strike team information, just basic things from my IRPG that I normally would go through. I never went through any of that stuff. I blame that on my complacency, just being too comfortable with this crew. In fact, all we did was talk about family, which is good. I know I was going through a refinance, so I was talking about that. I mean, nothing fire department, just everything was just, hey, how's it going, blah, blah. 1 hour later, boom, we're 99s first in. It's like, it sits on a hill in the valley. The bottom of the hill, you got to pretty much get all your groceries, so you're ready to go. When you go up the hill, you're pretty much on the hill. So we went to Gelson's, I remember that, and we loaded up some food, and now we're up on the, Mulholland Drive going up top. And it's amazing. It's actually a station that overlooks Shaquille O'Neal, Paris Hilton, Charlie Sheen. It's that neighborhood right there in the backyard. So it's like super vacation for an overtime day. When we pull up to the station, Doug Ray is the captain on Engine 99. This is a single engine station with a rescue. If you can picture the app bay just like this, the way they respond out of quarters is it's Engine 99, Rescue 99. They're both parallel and nothing behind them. So when Doug Ray gave me the clicker and the map to the district, he goes, just park behind Engine 99. So the configuration, how we respond out of the station was, if you're looking at the street that gets out of the station, it's Engine 99, Engine 33, Rescue 99. What should have happened is, what I normally do at my station is I always go for some basic response SOGs, especially with a rescue. My operation was, if there's any structure fire, I like having the engine lead. I've been burned multiple times when the rescue led, and it's nothing on the rescue's fault, just I've had incidents where it never worked out in a positive, result. So I always tell the rescue, unless there's something mechanically wrong with the engine, I like having the engine lead. It just works out better. I never had that conversation with the rescue. I just made a false assumption they would follow us. The only SOG me and Doug Reyes went over was we would do a 2-piece engine operation to any structure fire, meaning if we got a structure fire, we'd hang back at the hydrant, they would do a bird dog, and if they needed water, which they would need a structure, we'd bring them the water. That'd be a 2-piece operation. That's all we talked about. And it's funny because this district is full of brush and hillside homes. And I look back, and what should have happened was I should have discussed some hillside home SOGs with my guys, considering this district was full of them. Considering I knew about Frisco in 2011, I knew about Maryland in 2012. 3 months prior, as a captain, I was detailed back to training for what we call quarterly officer training, where they put us in a green cell, we're going through operations. I had the hillside home problem. I actually had this fire in a simulated way 3 months prior to this, and I actually gave this mini drill to all shifts at 57s on how we call this fire, how we attack it, strategy and tactics. I gave it to all 3 shifts. In fact, I even went to a live fire in the valley with 33s, engine 57th, and we did a simulated hillside home fire, discussed SOGs, talk about how coming down on it is the incorrect thing, doing a bird dog, all the things that we made mistakes on. I made mistakes on this fire. I actually drilled on this stuff. I actually taught it. And when I was with Doug Reyes this day, I never even talked about any of that. My crew never talked about any of this on that day. Should have done, I didn't do it. So anyways, we get settled in, do the housework. We're like, it's like our fare station too. We go out for lunch, and typical in the neighborhood, they pay for your lunch out there. So it's like the best overtime day ever. I remember my drill for the day, we drove the district, kind of looked at the different brush. We drove by multiple hillside homes, but never talked about them once. No calls till lunch, no calls till dinner. So now it's like even, this is the best day ever. And Charlie Sheen came over, brought pizzas. That's the way they do it on the Friday nights. I remember watching the Clippers game, Memphis. I remember watching that. And then we went to bed. They actually housed us inside their dorm, their crew dorms. They really took care of us. I remember the whole shift. I was talking to one of the members who runs marathons, because I was going to run a marathon on Sunday. And it was that kind of shift. I didn't even think we were working that day. Very complacent. So the first call that happened for us was midnight. It was a SUMAC fire. And go on, next slide, please. So May 4th is that midnight. It's this overtime shift. The call never, there was already a smell of smoke already in the area. So a couple hours before the call even got put in. So this thing was cooking for a long time. And real quick on just terminology, for hillside homes, for a descending hillside home, the first floor is floor 1. The first subterranean floor is S1. The second one is S2, so on and so forth. This fire actually was on S1, and we entered on floor 1. So just to give a basic understanding of what we did. Basically what we did the equivalent of a roof company cutting a ventilation hole, the fire tech company going through the ventilation hole to go to the fire, closing the hole, and then getting stuck in the attic. That's what we did, which, as you know now, that's the worst tactic you can ever do. And that's what we did on this. That's what they did in Frisco. That's what they did in Maryland. And we're going to repeat it a 3rd time. So, okay, so we're sleeping. The call gets rung out. Our whole engine company is in the rig ready to go suited up. And we come from a battalion that's very aggressive. 99 is more of a retirement station, so more slower to get out of quarters. I'm actually watching, I'm in engine 33 in the captain. I'm watching these guys suit up. I'm watching the whole crew from 99 suit up, and Rescue 99, we're ready to go. What should have happened, should have took the map out, identified the hydrant, the route, and communicate with the crew to get us prepared to go where we're gonna go. Instead, what I did was I relied on 99s to get us to the fire in these dark, hidden streets, and we'll be fine. And as you can see, it didn't work out that way. So what happened was, engine 99 takes off, and we're rolling behind them, and then Rescue 99 takes off too. So now we're the last rig leaving quarters. As we're leaving quarters, we have an issue closing the app doors. They're not closing. We're having an issue. So we're fumbling around, now we're getting delayed. As we're getting delayed, I start puckering up because I don't know how to get to where we're getting, and I see the taillights taking off of Rescue 99 who's following engine 99. And we're sitting here trying to close the doors, and we can't even close them. So now it's like, all right, now we're starting from way behind late ball. Doors finally close, and now we're punching it. Now we're on top of a hill, and the address is down Mulholland to SUMAC. So it's down a winding road that's very dark, and you can't even see the streets, very small. And now we're chasing Rescue 99's taillights. At the same time, Engine 99, who's in front of this convoy, thinks Rescue 99 is us. They think that we're following them, but it's actually their rescue. And they're hauling butt down to this incident. And we're hauling butt down the hill to find Rescue 99 to get to the incident. And I'm fumbling with the map. I just woke up. I got a red light lighting it up. My eyes are bad, and I can't even find the street. but I do remember seeing the taillights of 99s. They would appear, then they would disappear. They would appear and disappear, and that was concurrent with how we were going down this road. It was windy, and at one point they just disappeared. We lost them, and I remember it was like, oh crap, where are we going? I mean, we're lost, basically lost. And at the same point that we were really lost, and I'm trying to figure out where we're going, I hear the size up from Engine 99 saying that we had, a single family dwelling with either smoke or odor of smoke. And they said, Engine 33, take fire attack. And I shoot back, Engine 99 from 33s, we're not even on scene yet. We've been delayed, we're lost. I'll let you know when we get on scene. This is where it starts to like crumble. So I'm expected to take fire attack. I'm not even on scene yet. I get delayed from Corey, we're lost. So we're going down the wrong way, down Mulholland. We should have made a left on SUMAC, but we passed it. So we're going down and we see truck 88 and 288 going north while we're going south. When they did that, I immediately knew, like, well, common sense, okay, they're going the right way, we're going the wrong way. I look to the left, I see the fire, and it's in the hills to the left. And I tell my engineer, hey, we need to get turned around. We passed the fire. By the time he looked, because we were going so fast, he didn't even see the fire anymore. So now we're going down this hill, the opposite way of where the fire's at. Have to do like basically a 20-point turn because it's so tight to get corrected to go northbound on Mulholland, or Beverly Glen, I'm sorry, to make that right on SUMAC. By the time we turned around to go the correct way to the structure that I'm supposed to be at, it was all black. I didn't see anything, no street signs, it was so dark, all the rigs already had gotten to the incident, and all I saw was the fire. So now we're going north, the fire's on the right, I identified already the street that the fire's off, I saw the map, our Lincoln's would be like, half a mile up, SUMAC Drive. I identified the hydrant. It was going to be a southeast hydrant off SUMAC and Beverly Glen. I knew they hadn't had water yet, so our operation was we were going to bring water. Well, as we're getting close to SUMAC to make that right, Nobbing Hill is another street that's parallel to that, that's right below it. And I remember as we get past the intersection of Nobbing Hill, I look and it's a good shot. I actually get the fire from Nobbing Hill. But from past experience, got to go to the report address. This is the way the first time I'm supposed to do. So I said, you know what, let's go to the report address. They're expecting us to be there. So I looked for a second, now let's go. So we went to SUMAC. As soon as we went to go lay a line to bring water to the incident, the hydrant member jumps off. Battalion 10 pulls up right behind us. And he goes, Engine 99, from Battalion 10, I got 32s on a hydrant, you want him to lay in. So when he said that, I was thinking, man, maybe we should go down Nobbing Hill. Maybe he wants us to divert because better shot. Or he doesn't want us to lay this 4-inch line down the hill because it's going to make this street even more tight because of our line. So I told the hydrant member, stop. And I do remember my emotions getting out, like I'm really like, I lost my composure because, we're delayed, 3-point turn, we're lost. We should be there, we're not. Now I'm at the hydrant laying a line, we're getting delayed. So now it's like, it's on. And I'm waiting for 99s to get back to Battalion 10, but it seems like it took like 3 minutes, probably maybe take less than that. No response. So I tell my guy to wait. He was the hydrant, we're ready to go. And then he asks again. He goes, 99s from Battalion 10, I got 32s on the hydrant, want me to lay. And no response. I just said, just lay the line. So we just went and laid the line. So the way the street's very tight. Want to go to the next slide? Next one. Okay, so this is SUMAC, right? We're down here, laying a line up this tight street, okay? And it's very tight, and this is the structure right here. So of all the apparatus that were ahead of us, we basically parked way down the street. So it was a good run to even get to what we call don't worry about this, we call A, B, C, D. When the way, I don't know, it might be the same as you guys. When we look at a structure, looking at it clockwise, the street side's the A side, and then it goes B, C, and D. Don't worry about that A there. So the spot right here, where the lines were taken off, the rig were right here, Engine 99, we're parked down here. So we laid the line, stopped well short of the fire. My hydrant member goes, hey, Cap, what do we need to do? I go, hey, grab a line off 99s, we're going to give 99s water. So now we're fishing through these rigs. Finally, I get to the A side, which is right here. And when I get to the A side, go to the next slide. To another view, running up the street, bobbing and weaving through cars. Here's a structure. I finally get up to right there. I'm not, go to the next slide. So now this is what I see. I go in front of the structure. They already initiated their fire attack. Heavy black smoke pumping out. This is the whole A side. This A side entry right here. Heavy black smoke pumping across the whole drive. You couldn't see anything. And I saw just a lot of firefighters. In my mind, I know it was Engine 99, Rescue 99. I knew it was Light Force 88. We don't normally staff that engine that's married to the truck. So I didn't even know they were fully staffed. That's how I lost my composure. I didn't even know that 288 was fully staffed, which means they had a full engine company on there, which means that accounted for all those extra manpowers. I saw Captain Berkery from Truck 88 and Doug Reyes. So as I go and I looked, they kicked that front door, and I made a false assumption that a 360 was done. I made a false assumption that the fire was on the first floor. The battalion I was from, when a first on scene captain initiates fire attack to a certain portal of entry, we back them up. We're confident they made a good size up. We're confident that this is the best way to go. This is where the fire's at best access. We don't do a commando thing, go on the opposite side, do opposing hose lines. We trust our members. I never made a communication with the captain, him being from a different, I never said, hey, Doug, did you do a 360? Or hey, Cap, is the fire on the first floor? I just made a false assumption. It all was, based on my experience in single family dwellings. And as you can see, the fire, you can't see here, but this is the first floor. The fire was cooking on S1, the floor below. So what we did to reiterate was they opened up that front door like an AO cutting the hole in the roof. We all went through that front door like you're going through the hole to get to the fire. Now we're in the attic basically. And the way the dynamic of this fire happened is like the door closed on us. And we're stuck in this cooker with it underneath us, not knowing it's underneath us. So, as I'm here suiting up, it's like a 4-foot wide corridor to get that front door. Very narrow. So when my nozzleman came up to me with the line, I deviated from my normal SOG. Kind of affected that crew continuity. Typically, I have my nozzleman in front of me so I can keep account for him via feel and voice contact. But now I had him behind me, and I did that the lazy way because it was so tight. I didn't want him to go around me with the hose. I just go behind me. I know where 99s is at. I see their line. I relieve their captain. So I pulled the hose around the corner, and I went in, and I had my nozzleman follow me. That's one of the major mistakes that you guys should never. I lost communication and continuity with my guy behind me. He was behind me now, which is cardinal sin. So as we bring our line, we follow 99's line. Now it's the ideal age is bad, and it's already warm. Obviously, the fire's underneath if we didn't know. Very confusing. You want to go to the next slide? Next one. Real quick, let me back up. Had we done a proper 360? Had I done one? Or should we done one? Or communicated to go do one? Had I done that, I would have realized the fire was on S1 because I would have seen it on my bird dog. And number two, the number one option would have been going down the stairway to get to the portal of entry to put this fire out. But there was so much heavy black smoke coming out of here and blocking, we never even saw this right here. But if I'd done a 360, I would have seen it. And we wouldn't even be talking right now because we would have put this fire out. The right way to put this fire out would have been go down these stairs and put the fire out right there. But we never saw it. And I never did a 360 or sure it was done, so it never was even discovered till after the fire. Next one, please. Another view. So this is where we went in, guys. We should have went down that way. So imagine heavy black smoke pumping out. I took the place of the captain from 99s to pull hose around that corner. He went in with his crew. My nozzleman's behind me, and we're backing engine 99 up. But the way the structure is laid out, it's very confusing. It's not a normal single family dwelling because you have subterranean flooring. So you have us, go to the next slide. Next one. Next one, so that's the way we should have put it out. Okay, so this right here. So we went in here. So if you go to the left, you go down the stairs. You go to the right, you go down the stairs. If you go to the left, you end up in this office that we got trapped in, got disoriented in. And this office, just as a point of reference, is only like maybe 10 feet from the front door. That's where we got trapped. So if you walk in this front door, you're gonna hit a railing, right, to prevent you from falling downstairs. But if you go around that railing, you go downstairs. So in the ideal age, I'm trying to remember exactly how we walked and how we did it. I think when we followed the line of 99s, we ended up going in and out of this office. We ended up going up and down a couple stairs, which were all still going up and down on that first floor, but going down, up, to the point where 288, who had Captain Shirley on that rig, who was with me in that room, and I didn't know he was there because I was so focused. I didn't even know he was at that incident. Was, hey Vince, what floor are we on? That's how confusing it was. And Captain Shirley, to give you a little background, this guy in-service training, and he does our live fire. This guy's been in, probably burned more than anybody in the country with the type of instruction he's done the last how many years. Very comfortable in these kind of situations. And he asked me, what floor are we on? And I already had mentally kind of been aware we're on floor 1, Greg. And I don't even think I said Greg because I wasn't even sure it was him. I just knew his voice, but it was dark. I didn't know. We're on floor 1. All right, Roger. Trying to get to 99s. Got 99s in front of us. I can't get to them. I don't know where they're at, but we're on floor 1. So I felt like minutes went by. We're trying to get to 99s. Very confusing structure. I hear the water flowing. At the same time, I didn't know at the time, but my radio malfunctioned somehow. So I was lucky enough to hear radio transmissions on neighboring members. I hear the fires on S1. And when you hear S1 and you're on floor 1, you know you're in a bad spot. But we know, I hear water flowing, I know 99's in front of us. So our mission was to back them up, do whatever 99's needed. So I just told my guy, hey, we'll just wait here until they get this thing knocked down, then we'll go and assist them whatever they need. So we'll wait in this chimney, not knowing it's a chimney. Well, it got so hot and so dark that Greg, who now was in charge of all of us, he was Division 1, and we need to get out of here. It's too hot, we can't find them. I heard the water flowing, but we got to get out. So we're getting out, and so from what we all recollect, we all talk about this, we were somewhere out here. And as we're getting out, this is a stairwell feeding from S1, this one too. You have this chimney effect blowing out here. The thing what I forgot to tell you was the hose line, one of the hose lines we had, it burst on this railing. And that burst hose line was like a wall of water, acting like a door. So there was a wall of water here, like a door, preventing all the heat from coming out. So it was like the door was closed. So as we were egressing out, everyone got out, and somehow me, Greg, Shirley, Captain Shirley, and Brett Porter ended up in that room. And the best thing I can describe is the heat maybe directed us to go this way. So we went to this room where everyone else got out. My nozzleman thought I followed him out, but it was actually the captain from 99s. So somehow we got in the perfect angle to get to this door jamb, to get in this office. And I truly believe it because it was this wall of water, which at the time with the audio, what I was hearing, it was a burst line, but I thought that was 99's line. I know it was a burst line. So the water sound I heard, that kept us in there because thinking 99's was putting water on fire. It was actually the burst hose line that was behind us that was blocking the heat from coming out on that railing. So we ended up in this office, now known as an office, and we couldn't figure it out. Because we never knew we were in office, because we must have gotten that certain configuration in our body to get in without hitting a door jamb, we got disoriented. We couldn't find our way out. There's probably about 100 feet of twisted hose, one burst hose line, one hard line, and there's 3 of us. And the map to get out was a coupling. And I had trained on this skill for my whole career. Even when I was at the Santa Ana College, we talk about coupling identification, little to big to the rig, and that was it. This was test day. This is time to get out. This is the map to get out. And I didn't know we were in office, so we didn't do the left wall, right wall. This is the way to get out. So there was 3 of us, and basically, I remember now we're on our hands and knees because it's hot. We had no water, and I don't know how much air when I first started, but get the coupling, but it's very difficult to get to it because of all the twisted hose. Get to the coupling, feel it, identify it, then make my way out. And at the same time, not knowing, Brett Porter was doing the same thing right behind me. So we're both doing this. And Greg Shirley's on the burst line, trying to figure out that situation. So little too big to the rig. So the best way I can describe it, guys, is I would get out, navigate through all of it, making sure I was not losing contact. And then there was an 8-foot straight section of hose, which to me was like every time you have a straight section after navigating through all that, you're almost out, because now it's almost out. But every time I got to the end of the 8-foot section, same with Brett Porter, there was so much intense heat and there was a loud water noise. At the time, didn't know it was a burst, thought it was 99's line. We truly thought we were going back to the nozzle. Like they either were opening it up or left it there. So we felt we were going the wrong, I felt we were going the wrong way. So I turn back around, navigate through all that stuff to find the coupling, to check again, do that whole thing again, and come back out to get turned back around again because it was too hot. I'm hearing, you know, the line, not knowing it was burst out of down, that we're going the wrong way. I did this probably like 8 times, maybe 8 times. Brett did it probably 8 times, and Shirley's trying to talk on the radio. Hey, we're disoriented, to the point where I lost my rational thinking was gone, because now it's like, damn, we're messed up, we're lost. Can't figure this out, we're getting turned around. Typical rational thinking, if something's not working, you're probably doing something wrong on this end, but I never thought that way. I kept on doing the same thing over and over again, same 8 mistakes over and over again. I can notice my air now, it's getting depleted from 50 to 25. I should remember the 10% indicator. So I wasted all my air, or used all my air, in that 8-foot section right there. And I remember telling Greg Shirley, the captain in there, so it was me, Captain Shirley, and Brett Porter. I remember telling Greg, I go, hey, I'm low on air. And he goes, yeah, we're all low on air. And I just let him know, you know, he's our division commander in there. And okay, so we're doing, I'm preparing to not suck my face piece, you know. But when I talk about rational thinking's gone, I truly feel that whole like fight or flight response kicked in. All the training I had trained on, all the buddy breathing, escape canister, you know, skip breathing, I didn't revert to any of it. All I was thinking about was hand over hand, let's get out of here, it's too hot. To the point where the thing was blinking, the 10% indicator on our mask, I mean, where you got maybe 10 breaths, you know, left, was going off. And then I prepared myself for that thing to suck to my face piece. And I remember having no dexterity to take this thing off. One of the things that you'll go through the lessons here is when you're going through this situation, you lose the ability to talk, you lose the ability to crawl. Like we were actually sliding into each other. The ability to take a regulator off. I took my glove off to actually take my regulator off, and my glove was left in the room, so that's why I burned my hand. Was either taking the regulator off or touching hose or touching cabinets. So I took this thing off. The one thing I did actually resort to was keeping my face piece on, which was protecting my airway. I told Greg, hey, I'm out of here. Well, he thought I said I was low on air, so he didn't know I actually was off the regulator, mask on. And from 4 minutes, we did the study on the tape. So 4 minutes happened from when I took the regulator off to when we got out. And that 4 minutes, I don't even have a clear like linear memory. I remember bits and pieces, probably because of the hypoxia, the stress, the panic. You know, I'm in a panic now, but I don't have a clear memory, but I remember certain things. And Greg never knew I took it off. Brett never knew I took it off because I was still moving around, but I can't even tell you what I was doing. I just remember I was on the hose, but no clear memory. So literally, the only thing I could do to that point to save my life was keep the engine running, which is just not die. And luckily I did that. I literally gave the keys to my life to those 2 guys, Greg and Brett, and the way I look at it, they took me home. I mean, they took me home to where I was able to actually be in my bed by like 8 o'clock at night that night. I know I'm fast forwarding, but if they were in that room with me, I wouldn't be here right now. If I was by myself, I'd be dead. What ended up happening was Brett Porter, the firefighter, he got to that 8-foot section of hose that I got turned on multiple times. He finally got to that maybe the 10th time, or 12th or 13th, who knows. And 78th was the rig team to get us out, and he heard them turn their bottles on. Let me backtrack a little bit. Berkery, the Captain 2 from 88th, when he heard the traffic going on, he tried to do a self-rescue on us. And he said that when he dove past that wall of water that was preventing the heat coming out, he goes, hey Vince, he goes, I saw caskets. There's no way they could be alive because when I dove past that wall of water, I hung in for like a minute, I went right back out. It was one of the most well-respected officers on our job, so I knew it was hot. I knew I had a lot to play with how we couldn't figure this thing out. And Brett Porter heard the bottles turn on. So Brett probably was right here, heard the bottles turn on. At the same point, me and him got redirected multiple times, and then he realized, okay, this is the way out. So he figures the way out, goes back for us in that room, not knowing it was a room, and this is what I do remember. I'm on my knees doing what I was doing, and Greg's always on my left, and Brett runs to get us in the office, and he hits his shoulder on the door jamb of the office we're in. When he hits his shoulder on the door jamb of the office we're in, that's the first time any of us knew we were in office, was that moment right there. And in fact, he hit his shoulder on the door jamb and goes, "Is this the right area?" And he sees Greg. He goes, "Hey, Greg, let's get out of here, Obviously a little more forceful, but yeah, let's get the F out of here." And I remember that because Greg's on my left. And Greg's like, "Vince, we need to get the hell out of here." So I remember that. So I'm crawling behind Greg, and miraculously at the same time, they cut a ventilation hole right over this right here. So as we're egressing out, just like a movie, the thing opens up, you can see the door, and I'm crawling, and then from what I've been told, I stopped probably 8 feet out from the front door, and Greg drags me to right about here, and then Madrigal, who's the AO from 78, goes through that wall of water to drag me the rest out, and he even read it. It was hot behind that thing. So anyways, they dragged me out. I didn't even know I was knocked out. I thought I did the whole operation myself. I must have been in dreamland. And my face piece is on, my regular's off, but I'm limp. They thought I was dead. Greg thought I was dead. Madrigal thought I was dead. And they rolled me over, took my face piece off, and I started breathing again. And I do remember that, but I didn't know I was passed out. And the next thing you know, I'm getting stripped and flipped and on the rescue, But that's how we got out. And I mean, I really study this thing. It's like going back to what you can control. I really dissect how I'm even here talking to you right now. This incident, if you want to quantify like the level of training it required, it required like this much training to get out. I probably was right about here through my lack of proper preparation or training, however I attacked it, because I trained on all this stuff, buddy breathing, all this stuff, canister, never once even thought about it. So I'm here, the incident called for this. I think what truly bridged that gap to get me out, was the training of Brett and Greg. And I make it a point in my career, I share it with you guys, and I hope you guys do it too, is to always train like today, tomorrow. Like, you gotta prepare for that call. Gotta be at that certain level. If you're there already, maintain it and train others. If you're not there, get to it, because get it for yourself, get it for your crew, and then most importantly, get it for your family. The one thing I learned, and I share it with you guys because I've been through it, is they preach to us in LA City that every time you promote, you got to reiterate the priority of the fire department, right? You always do everything for the community first, department second, crew third, and you last. Well, the one thing that I add to myself is your family, and that's right up there, number one. And the most impacted people, the recipients of Greg and Brett's training, was my family, my children. I have 4 kids. When this incident occurred, my son was 1, and then I have a 12, 10, 11-year-old. And I was just telling the captains earlier, I think not a minute went by where I didn't think about what Greg and Brett did for my kids. Not a minute went by for like the next, month or 2 months. I remember 2 significant things happened in that time when I was going through the healing process. A week later from this was Mother's Day. I just lost my mom in 2 months prior, so we went to go visit, the gravesite, and I remember we're looking at the gravesite. My family's there, and it just hit me because like they should be at my funeral right now. I shouldn't even be here, but here I am, and grateful to be alive. And I couldn't stop thinking what Greg and Brett did for me. I even called them. I go, hey, thank you. I probably called them. We call each other every day, to get through this. And then obviously a month later is Father's Day. Same thing. I'm back at the cemetery, and they should be visiting me, and it really hits home, that you do all this stuff, and I think that we lose sight, being complacent like me, that truly it's for the families, for the kids. Not maybe not your kids, but it's for your buddies' kids, because you might be the Alvarado that is requiring your buddies to get you out so you can get home to your kids, or you might be the Greg Shirley and Brett Porter, who that guy's requiring you to help them get out. Regardless of what the case is, the way to control that is through your training. This training today, I think for me personally, is the most important training in the fire department. Had I studied those 2 fires, I wouldn't be talking to you today. Had I really took the heat, BOA, which will go over grab lives, breathing organized act. Had I done that, we wouldn't be here today. Had I actually got rational thinking because of breathing and slowing my breathing down, wouldn't be here today because I would have probably got out as a single family dwelling 8 feet from the front door, where I had 12 years, the guy had 30 years, and the guy had 10. We had almost 50 years of fire experience in that room. We got disoriented in a single family dwelling. And it's that easy, like right now. Our fire department has gone through probably 5 Maydays since this occurred. I mean, I think what's happening is all the old timers, the veterans, the baby boomers who have, I see a lot of old guys here that are leaving with all the experience because now everyone's into fire prevention, which is great. People are taking better care of their property. We don't go to the fires. I don't go to the fires the guys before us, have gone to. That experience is leaving. Now with that comes the experience I'm going to these incidents, and with that we're getting more injuries, more maydays, more lost, disoriented, trapped, so on and so forth. So more importantly, is this training good for everybody? Because we might need it more than what they needed it for, because they had the reps back then. No, we don't have that now. We have to go off what the guys tell us what they went through. So if this training meant something for you today before you came here, hopefully it means more to you now, because at the end of the day, like my kids right now, in the last 3 years since I've been alive since this, I've seen a lot. My son's 4 now. I've done a lot with him in 3 years that I wouldn't have had if Greg and Brett were in that room for me without their training. My 3 daughters have grown. I mean, now junior high, first dance, and I get to go to, all the other things. And it's all because of what those 2 did, what their training, was at the time of. And the new approach I have as a captain now back in the field is I look at that. I look at that incidents, the ones that kill us or nearly kill us. And that's what I train at, to make sure we're ready for that, the data is all out there for every incident you want to go over that nearly killed someone. I was talking to Cap earlier, I went to a Gordon Grab seminar, who's the creator of firefighterclosecalls.com. If you don't have that, I recommend you get it. It's an email that's free that gives you the line of duty death or near misses every day on this fire department or fire service to get your mind thinking about how dangerous the job is. Gives you data to look at to really comprehend and look and put in your memory bank so you don't repeat it. He said, Gordon Graham said that the best way to protect yourself from incidents that kill you or nearly kill you is to study the incidents that have killed or nearly killed firefighters. And it's so simple to really listen and like, oh yeah, that's true, but it's true. I mean, if I had done that with San Francisco and Maryland, this probably wouldn't have happened. So I gave it to you as a 3rd fire in that linear time. Don't let it happen to you guys. So yeah, I mean, next one. So this is the after effect of us getting lost, but then preparing. This is 78's the company that's going to get us out, during that melee. And this is, we threw 100 people at this fire. That's how stubborn it was. Next one. All right, can you go ahead and move that other video real quick? No, right there. That's Brett Porter, who got us out. The firefighter in the room with us. That's Greg Shirley on the left. All right, cut it. Real quick, just to reiterate what was underneath us, had we done a proper 360 and attacked it where we needed to attack it, we would have found this. This was all underneath us when we were in that room, so that 360, that situational awareness, I mean, very important. I mean, this is what we should have done. Instead, that's what was underneath us. So I ended up having third-degree burns on my hands and burns on my legs, and then Porter, burns on his legs. Surely he didn't get any burns, I don't think. But more importantly, just the mental damage, but turned the damage into a positive by sharing it. But yeah, it definitely, for me, is fortunate. I'm fortunate to be here. So next one. So going again, this is the seaside. Had we had done a 360, would have saw that. You know, all that was underneath us. We're on that top floor. Next one. That was underneath us at the time of this extraction. Next. Okay, to reiterate, the difficult, you know, in the zero visibility, which you'll do today. When you take your eyes away, I mean, I know it sounds so simple. It changes everything. And us going down and up these stairs, not knowing exactly where we're going, it made it really confusing and disoriented us. This is the railing that burst the hose line that made that wall of water prevent the heat from coming out. And you'll see here, you go to the next slide. So this is the railing that burst the hose line. The room is on the left. Next one. Another view of the railing that burst the hose line. The stairs that go down the S1. These are the chimneys feeding the heat that couldn't get out the front door. The office is right here. Next one. And that's the burst hose line. So, because that factor, which we couldn't control, you know, nearly almost killed us. So, next one. Next. And that's the office. So the way I'm envisioning it without being there is we probably got to hear every time before getting turned around because of this heat and smoke that we're not being able to escape because of the wall of water blocking the doorway. It was just that close, guys, and we never knew we were in the office, not until Brett hit his shoulder on the door jamb. Just right here. Next. There's the office again, another view. Next. This is how small office, like 10 by 10. So, I mean, I never thought I'd ever get disoriented in a 10 by 10 office, not knowing it was an office, but those like handprints, we're trying to figure this out, could not figure it out. Next. The hose. Next. Handprints, so like, I mean, we really tried to figure it out, but I think between the panic and the no visibility, it really screwed with our brain, well, my brain for sure. Next. And that was underneath the whole time, so. Next. All right, so, I mean, there's a lot of lessons learned. I mean, you probably got a lot right now, but the big ones that I teach when I teach these skills that you'll learn the next 2 days. I was always a little too big, get to the rig, and now that I've taught this over the last year and a half, I like that smooth bump back to the pump, you know, as far as coupling identification. If I had to redo this again, I would have trusted that it was the way out, not got turned around 8 times and just trusted and powered through the heat to get out. So anyway, it's one of those little tactical things that I would share with you. If you're having an issue trying to identify coupling identification and get out of a building, I like that smooth bump back to the pump. We've had multiple fires in our fire department history, LA City, where the firefighter getting rescued or the crew getting rescued could not believe it was the way out. Something that mental brain does when you're under the situation. The Vallarta fire, actually a buddy of mine, Enrique Graciano, he was getting pulled the right way to get out, getting rescued, and he was fighting him because he thought it was the other way. Just like at SUMAC, where we thought, you know, it was really the other way. Salvation Army fire, same thing. There was arguments, there was fighting about which way was the right way out, and same with the Western fire. So in our history, with all these fires, it's something that happens, something to prepare yourself for, where you're gonna have some self-doubt, your mind plays tricks on you. If you're trying to get out, you're following that map to get out, the 100% map to get out. You can't doubt yourself. The training here you do today, make sure you implant that in your brain. In this fight or flight response, I've read about it, but having actually gone through it, the loss of dexterity, inability to talk, inability to communicate, you know, bumping into each other, sliding on the ground in that room, it's true. I mean, when you train, the one thing I've learned is not to do complacent drilling. When you train, you really train how you're really going to play on game day. And if you take away from that, if you take away the ability for your crew to train that way, like you just train in a uniform or like a brush coat, and actually get into the radio comms, the turnouts, you're actually doing a disservice. The one thing I read, and I really take it to heart, is training is all based on an adaptation to experience. If you train like, you know, halfway, you know, like just like we all go right now do this drill with no turnouts, you're only going to be ready to do those things with no turnouts. A lot of times when I would drill my crew at 57s, we do drop back, all these operations just in a brush coat and a helmet, just so we can prevent ourselves from overheating. Well, really what I did to my crew was we complacently drilled. I was only getting my crew ready to be ready for that situation with a brush coat and helmet on, not really for the turnouts in the bottle. When I trained for buddy breathing, when I trained for fireground survival in the past, when I trained for escape cancer, which we have, I don't think I took it to that level of what I would do now. So I share that with you, to take this training serious and actually do it how you're really going to do it, because then you'll be ready, as close as you can be ready to be able to perform it when you're actually faced with it with all your gear on, your radio, the gloves, so on and so forth, with the stresses. Next. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be 3 years in May, and, you know, just with our fire department, since the 3 years, well, there's been about 5 near misses in our fire department. So, I mean, they're going to happen, and, you know, recognize that our job is dangerous, you know, and that if you haven't been hurt, you know, don't ever think it'll never happen to you. Just work on preventing that Mayday. You know, the 3 C's, work on those, whatever drilling you need to do to get there. Study past incidents. And then also, if things that you can't control are occurring, make sure you take heed to all the stuff you're learning today to give you that tool set you need to extract yourself out. And that's all I got. I mean, any questions? Anybody have anything?
First, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I think I appreciate you letting your guard down and, you know, critiquing the incident, because so many times we're afraid of doing it. You coming out and teaching us will help us to, you know, not go through the same thing here in our city. It's made myself, the first time I heard it, take a different approach. And hopefully, obviously, for everybody here, it hits everybody a certain way. I talked to you earlier, it's different hearing you talk. Got a 1-year-old, obviously, so it hits you a totally different way than it did the first time I heard it. So,
yeah, I mean, I thank God every day. I thank Greg and Brett every day. But you know, I was telling Cap, you know, he'll say, yeah, you mind if we wait? You know, I know your time ago. To me, it's just, it's an honor for me to actually share it, that you guys can get value out of it. It gives more value to the experience, so it just doesn't get thrown away and get put in a box, you know. You guys share it, whatever you need to share it with, you know, because, you know, I'm lucky to be able to speak about it. I was talking to Cap about line of duty deaths versus near misses. The one difference that is there is that the guys who went through the death, they can't share their story to help others prevent them from getting that same situation, at least with ours. With my situation, I have the ability to share it, so part of my, you know, payback for being alive in my bonus time right now, you know, I owe it to Greg and Brett, truly I do, to share the story so others could maintain that level of training to be ready. You know.
one thing we'll bring up throughout the training, guys, is kind of we owe it to those who have lost their lives or having a near miss to train and make sure we're not a part of that. Vince brings up his family. You know, he's got 4 kids now, and now, good point, you train for your family.
You do,
you come to the job, you do your job safely and effectively for your family to go back to them. So.
Yes.
Cap, you were talking about, you said there that no Mayday was effectively communicated. Did one of your crew actually try to call a Mayday?
All right, so let me retract back. Our policy for firefighter down missing trap at this date Mayday wasn't even our policy, it was emergency traffic. And the term emergency traffic had gotten so diluted over time because people use it for pit bull in the backyard that when you heard on the radio, there was no antenna raising. So going back to that, and then we have a culture of, it's kind of embarrassing, to call for help. So you have those two things playing together. So yes, there was not a Mayday, but emergency traffic put out that never got, taken serious. And then there was also a casual call for help, but like, hey, we need help, get us out here, that never got taken serious. So Maydays were called out, but never really performed to what you will learn in the next 2 days.
Is that why the RIP team never?
Yeah, I think at the time when it finally got communicated that it was like, this is serious, was at the right time when Brett heard that bottle go on. But they were going to engage. It was just the time frame was not expedited because of I would say the diluted term of emergency traffic. Single family dwelling, you kind of leave your guard down too. It's not a commercial building, and you don't expect it to be like that. Where if you look at the stats, single family dwellings is where most fire fatalities happen, but you just don't think about that going on a lot of them, But yeah, they were just not done to what they should be done. But yeah, we had a Mayday on Monday at LA City. Almost lost 2 guys, or 1 guy, I should say. But
somebody asked me about that. Was that in Koreatown? Where
yeah.
The team was?
No, real quick, I don't have the full specifics, but we have districts that have balloon construction still. So like, fire will travel through the walls because of lack of fire blocking. And this fire was a 2-story balloon construction style home. Started in the basement, them not knowing it was a basement, traveled up the walls. So as they tried to make fire attack to which they could see fire in the attic, the floor 1 was compromised because of the fire that was cooking underneath it. So as they were trying to find an entrance to the fire in low visibility, a guy fell through the floor and singed his whole back and legs. This is after they were sounding and trying to get a stairwell up. But another thing too, you see fire in the attic, you never think it's gonna start from down low. You never thinking the floor's compromised, one of those things. So bottom line was the captain who was trying to help the member. The member's like a tight end, that's how big he is, like Gronkowski, like one of those big guys. And Doug Noonan, a friend of mine, he's like my size, couldn't get him out, called for the Mayday. And there was a non-acknowledgement after 5 Maydays. It finally got acknowledged, and it's not right, So hopefully today, you guys all go through it and understand that the term Mayday is serious. Missing down trap, and all the things that are entailed with that. It's not just a term for like pit bulls or whatever you might have on a fireground. And it never got acknowledged. So 5 Maydays later, it's a change for us. This has just happened in 2014. So. But yeah, we had a few. Guy fell through the roof. So yeah, it's dangerous.
In trap lost, did it ever, we talked about not wanting to call the Mayday. Did it before
No.
they did a process like, hey, I can't be calling emergency traffic here. You're gonna find your way out.
No, I'll be completely honest, guys. I never thought about calling it. And I think I was in that panic, that thing where like, Andy explained it to me, there's like a chemical thing that goes put to the front of your brain that blocks everything out. All you can focus on is one task. Seriously, the only thing I can think about, and to prepare you guys for it if you're in this situation, is you might just focus on one task, which was me, was hand over hand, let's get out of here. The buddy breathing, the Mayday, or the emergency traffic at the time, and the escape canister, I never even thought about it. And I drill on this stuff. It's just what I learned through going through the primary class, and I know Cap went through it for this teaching this, is that BOA, that breathing, organized act. It's the best way to combat panic. If you actually do that, take the time, it's military proven. If you breathe 6 times, once every 6 seconds, actually clear your mind, you can combat everything that I went through and actually think clearly and actually go through your training. I didn't do that. In fact, I was never, I never actually heard that concept of actually slowing your breathing down without, getting too into it. But when we were becoming certified to teach this class, they put my whole group into a panic on purpose. So we had to revert to the BOA to be able to get out of this maze at Frank Hodgkins at our training center. They put hose, they put noise, they put blacked out our mask, put us low on air. In fact, one guy in my group just bailed out of this prop. But the way that I was able to because they put me in a panic. The guy told me, just breathe, Vince. And once I actually stopped and breathed, everything became clear. So, yeah, I mean, no, I didn't think anything but get out. And had I taken time to breathe, the one thing I learned today would grab lives. I mean, I probably would have been out of there, figured out it was an office, and figured out that what I was doing was correct and got out. But I didn't breathe. So, yeah.
Again, guys,
Yeah.
everybody could take something out of it. I know for me, I wrote on my napkin, I'm writing things down as we go. And I appreciate you allowing us to tape.
Oh, no problem.
Appreciate you coming out.
You're welcome. You guys can email or call me if you have any questions. And I left the PowerPoint and all that stuff on your desktop here. You guys can burn it, whatever you want to do with it.
Right.
I mean, copy it, I mean. But yeah, I mean, that last thing here, these 7 things are all on the SIT report or NIOSH report for those last 2 incidents. Same with ours. It's all the same lessons learned for all 3 fires. SUMAC, Maryland, and Frisco. If you haven't actually gone on firefighterclosecalls.com at some point in the next 2 days while you're doing this training, go look at it and search those 2 fires. And you'll see the report. It's all the same stuff I just talked about right now. It's amazing. So, anyways,
Appreciate
yeah,
it.
thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, just grab this.